Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on Unreal Engine 4, making this first-person shooter. In the last couple of videos we did a lot of copy-paste type of scripting, getting our weapons to both appear and hide. I was going to say appear and reappear, but that didn't really make any sense. So, in this video we are going to continue on with that functionality, create some blueprints to actually give us something to pick up and run the event that we made. So, first thing that we want to do is on our weapon base, we are actually going to make all of our children. Whatever edits that we make within the weapon base, it will be automatically applied to all the children, whether or not we make them now or later. So we're just going to make them now, and you will see why we're doing that now in a second. So let's right click on weapon base, create child blueprint. And I'm going to call this pistol underscore weapon. We're just going to keep doing this for all 6. So auto rifle weapon. And we have a, not that, I have a shotgun. We have a sniper rifle. We have a grenade launcher. Why do I forget what the underscore is? Okay, and rocket launcher weapon. Okay, I have the underscore weapon set there linked to weapon base, or just for nomenclature reasons, because we will be creating like auto rifle impact effect and auto rifle this and that sort of thing. All we want to do so far is let's open up our weapon. The only thing that we have, we can click on here and say show inherited variables. That's what we want. So we want to be able to see our weapon type and our socket name. So let's go ahead and actually do this one by one. Socket name, let's name this pistol underscore socket. And we will create that. You know what? No, I take that back. Let's do that later because it's not created yet, so it might give us an error. Sorry about that. For weapon type though, we can set this to be pistol. And for the weapon mesh, we want this to be our click too soon. Our pistol. There we go. There it is. Exit out of there. We're going to be doing a lot more editing in here later on. Weapon type. Auto rifle. Weapon mesh. It's called assault rifle. There we go. Shotgun. Let's make this of type shotgun. And let's go ahead and not shotgun, shotgun. There we go, there's our shotgun. Sniper rifle, and sniper. There we go. We got 2 more. I'm actually not even gonna make this a bigger window here. Who cares? There's our grenade launcher. And then rocket. Slotting in the meshes right now, even though there's no functionality added, just so that we can visually see them when we need to. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is we want to create our weapon pickups. So if you, I'll show you. I have the other project still open right here. So if I go and hit play, we're going to be creating these things that we can then pick up and interact with, like that. Let's create these things. Cool. Let's move on over there. With our FPS game folder selected, let's create a new folder and we'll call it interactable. And then within that folder, I want to create a folder called weapons. because we're also in our interactable folder going to make ammo that's also going to be interactable. But for now, Let's stick to weapons. Right click. Let's make a class of an actor and call it weapon pickup base. Let's open this up. You can drag this along the top because we're going to be doing a few different things in here. So right away, let's, with our scene root, let's just keep that, who cares? Let's make a, I'm skipping a step, a skeletal mesh, and we'll call this weapon mesh. And then this is a little bit strange, but we're going to add a static mesh, and we'll call this invisible box. And then let's also add a component of rotating movement. And we're going to set this Z to be like 130. The higher it is, the faster it's going to go. Z means it's going to sway, kind of like, I don't know, you can mess with that if you'd like it to do some crazy rotating, but for the sake of this, we're going to keep it rather simple. This invisible box is a little bit strange. The reason that we have an invisible box is because the way that we're interacting with this is through a line trace, and some of the meshes, like the pistol, are very small. And so when I was screwing around with this, I found that it doesn't always hit or work that great because the mesh itself is so small. So this box being invisible means that we will always hit with something. It'll just give us a bigger radius that we can hit the E key and interact with, even though you can't actually see it. So with this box, what I want to do is we are going to make it invisible and hidden in game. So uncheck visible and check hidden in game. The scale, let's lock it and make it 0.5, half of its size. And for the static mesh, we just want the basic 1M cube. Since we do have it set to be invisible, you won't actually see it, even in the viewports right here. But there it is. It's invisible. But now it's all set up. So now we can go ahead to our event graph. We don't, actually, we need event tick and we need event begin play. If you got rid of them, you can always just call them back. Okay, let's get our player character out of here. Let's cast to be. Wait a second. Why isn't that working? It should work. Weird. Maybe out of just cast to BP player. Am I spelling things wrong? Why does this thing hate us? Hold on a second here. Okay, so I encountered something I've literally never encountered before in my life, but I found a solution to it. So if you aren't able to cast to the BP player out of get player character, go on ahead over to our BP player right here on the self. Scroll on down to pawn and auto possess player. Go to player 0. Compile that. If you hit play, everything is still working. And now, out of our get player character, we can cast to, and now it's saying go to the player, which is what I was always expecting to happen. So that was very strange, but alas, we will move on. Let's right click and promote this to a variable and call it player. Okay, one thing you'll notice about me is that I am very perfectionist, so I am always going to comment box even the simplest of scripts just so that I know what all of this is doing here. So yeah, we just got a variable for the player so that we can reference all of its functions and variables and all that stuff. In here, we're going to create a custom event, and we're going to call this pickup. Actually, instead of pickup, let's call it interacted with weapon. Okay, just to keep it, because we're going to create a binding that's going to be called interact. So we'll just keep it nice and similar. Let's drag out our player. If you hold down Control, it'll automatically get it. And then we want to get the event weapon pickup. Alrighty. So if you remember from the last video, 2 videos ago, weapon pickup is this event that starts off the spawning the weapon, brings it into the world for the first time, and then equips it. And since we have this input here, when we call it, it's going to ask which one do you want to spawn. And you can see it's asking now, since this was a class reference, it's getting all of them. So now we have the auto rifle, grenade launcher, pistol. We can spawn any one of these. What we want to do is we want to promote this to a variable. And we can keep the name weapon to spawn. I just don't really want the spaces in it, like that. Okay. After this, we want to pull out a do once node. So we only want to do this once. And we're going to play a sound 2D. And then once we play the sound, we want to destroy the actor. So we're going to destroy this pickup once we play a sound. I want to promote this sound to a variable too, and we'll call it pickup sound, like that. And I believe that's it. That's all we got to do in here for our weapon pickups. Actually, you know what? I'm going to be cool. And we're going to add one more thing for Flare. But before we do that, let's comment and we'll say runs event in BP player. So that we know this script. Now you're probably saying to yourself, well, Tim, this is a custom event itself. What is going to call this event? And you'd be right in wondering that. And we will create, this is what we will create an action mapping to the E key. And the E key is what is going to activate this event, which will then activate this event, and that will function in that event, and it'll just be one huge long thing. So before, when I was saying when this is like hard, it's really not that hard. It's just very complicated because there's a lot of blueprints that are talking to each other to get this sort of thing to happen. If you notice that though, I had the weapons bobbing up and down. So we're going to do that now. So out of event tick, if you're unfamiliar, so event begin play and event tick are present in any blueprint. If you're familiar with like coding, event begin play is the equivalent to void start. It runs whenever this blueprint exists, whenever it's called into the world. So that can be perhaps like the second you hit play, or it can be whenever, you know, in this case, whenever you spawn this weapon. When the weapon is spawned, that event begin play will run. Event tick runs once every single frame. So event tick is better for like what you're going to see here if you're changing certain values. You want the game to be constantly checking for that. So you run it as an event tick. What we're going to do is we're going to add a timeline and we'll call this Bob for Bob up and down. Awesome. Let's double click on Bob. Okay. Let's open up the old Bob. And I'm going to make this last 2.5 seconds. We want this to loop. We want it to constantly bob up and down. We're going to add a vector track. A vector is X, Y, and Z. We can lock and get rid of X and Y. We only want to mess with Z. So let's go ahead, and if you hold down Shift, you will add keyframes. So we're going to add 4 of those. The first one is going to be time 0, value of 0. Second one is going to be time of 0.75, and it's going to have a value of, let me just refer to my notes. It's going to have a value of 0.5. This third one is going to be at 1.75. Oh gosh, they overlapped. The last one put at time 2.5. Okay. Third one is time 1.75, value of negative 0.5. And then this last one is time of 2.5, value of 0 again. So it's going to go up and then down. Now this is a little bit jagged. So if we highlight all of them, right click and hit auto, now it's going to create a more smooth line like that. And that's exactly what we want. So we can close out Bob, and now we have a new track. And actually, sorry, we didn't name this new track. We can give it a name. Oh, can we not? Okay, we can. Cool. Let's just call this Hover Anim or something. Now we can truly exit out. Out of the update, we want to add actor local offset. And the location we want to be that value. So it's updated. So it's not running this add actor offset when this finishes. It's running it as an update. So it's constantly running it, and it's this event's running every second, and the location is updating with this value like that. So let's go ahead and comment box this as well and say hovers weapons up and down for style. Look at it. So we've done so much stuff for like functionality. So here we go. There's some style for you. All right, I promised I'd make it look cool. Okay. So we're going to be done in the weapon pickup base. That's all that we want to do. So we want to start making children to this as well. So let's create a child blueprint class and call this pistol weapon pickup. And I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead. I trust that you know how to right click and create child blueprint class for all 6 of our weapons. So go ahead and do that, and I'll join you in a second. All right, now with that done, you should have all 6. We should have 7 blueprints in here total because 1 is the base. And what we want to do is just simply open one of these up, and let's go to our weapon mesh, and let's do the assault rifle. That's what we want right there, like that. Ooh, one thing I forgot to do, apologies, is the weapon mesh. I want to be up in the air, so set to be like 150 perhaps. So the value that I had it in the other project was 110. Had to go back and check what that number was. So now this is actually going to be hovering above the ground, and you notice it is automatically updated here like that. The other thing that I did was I made the Y -20, so it steps it back a little bit. So that makes this appear just a little bit more centered with our scene root right there. You can replace the scene root by just dragging that over, but then if you do that, then you won't be able to move it upward, because then this will be the center of everything. It'll be the root. Okay, so the other things that we want to do in all these blueprints is weapon to spawn. We want to set it as the auto rifle, and the pickup sound is we can slot this in since we set this to be a variable. And there is one called rifle raise, like that, and that's the one that we want. If you feel like it's too loud or too quiet, you can always go underneath pickup sound, and you can make this like 1.5 or something like that if you want, or you can make it quieter. It's really up to you, but that's what we want to do in all of these. So you can go ahead. Once again, I trust you. I'll show you one more time, then you can do the rest of them. Give you a little bit of a task here. Weapon to spawn. You want to make that the pistol. And like these don't have really anything in there yet, but like I said, the functionality will work once it's all set up. The weapon mesh. Let's make that the pistol. So there it is. And the pickup sound. These all are called raise. So you'll see pistol raise, and you want to use the Q, so that the sound's slightly different every single time. So go ahead and try to do the rest of the weapons, and I will come back in a second. So I apologize again. There's one thing that I forgot to mention. So in the weapon pickup base, make sure in the base, so that this applies to all of the children, go to the invisible box and uncheck the lock and make the Y value of 1. Before it was 0.5, and that's a cube. We want this to be more rectangular because our weapons are pretty long. We want that to encapsulate the entire weapon. So just make it 0.5, 1, 0.5, and then you can make this invisible again and compile and save it, and then that will be applied to all the rest of them. With that done, we can place our weapon pickups into the world. So let's put the pistol, the auto rifle, the, where's our shotgun? Oh gosh, the shotgun. No! Why is the shotgun lower? Weird. And then we got the sniper rifle. It was just the angle I was dropping in the map. Must have thought I was placing it lower beneath the ground. Grenade launcher. and rocket launcher. So now we have all of our weapons. If I go in and hit play, you can see they're doing their bobbing and weaving thing. It might be a little bit too high still. You can lower that, just change the Z value on the parent there, and then that should fix that. And you can always tune this up. You can make them spin faster, whatever you want to your liking. The final thing we want to do in this video is actually allow us to be able to interact with these weapons. So let's go into our settings, project settings. Let's go into inputs and let's create a new action mapping, and let's call this interact. And we're going to bind this to our E key. If we find it, so many E's in the alphabet, most common letter. Okay, so we want to be in the BP player, in the character, and we want this to be in our action mappings, so we can find some space around here, and let's call upon interact. Now, here's some things that we want to do. When we interact, we want to draw a line trace by channel. A line trace is the same exact thing that we're going to be doing when we shoot our hit scan weapons. It's going to draw an invisible line out into the world, but we need to give it a start point and an end point. So let's take our camera component and let's get the world location, so the location of the camera, and we also want to get the forward vector. So the camera's location and the vector that is pointing out straight forward. We're going to multiply that forward vector by a float value, yes, and this is going to be how far out into the world we want it to shoot. In this case, let's set it to be something like 200, and then we're going to add these together like that. It hates me. Wait, I thought this was a float. Wait a second. Yeah, I just did vector plus vector. There we go. Vector plus vector, and make that our endpoint. And then our start point is going to be the location of the camera. Okay, so what we are doing here is we are getting the location of our camera component, this right here. We're going to be getting its location. We're going to be getting whatever the direction is forward from that. We're going to be multiplying that 200 units out. So that would be the distance of like here, like starting from here out to here. And then we're going to be adding those two things together to get our endpoint. And then our start point is just the camera's location. All right. So out of the return value, we want to get an if statement. Because we only want, so if you see, true if there was a hit, false otherwise. So we only want this line trace to do anything if we actually hit something. Okay, for right now, we're going to pull out a sequence, even though we're only doing one thing, because we want to interact with multiple things, so this is just for the future. And then out of then one, we want to cast to our weapon pickup base. And then out of our out hit, we're going to break this hit result. And then the hit actor is what we're going to plug into our object. So what break hit result is essentially doing is it's drawing this line trace. It's seeing, okay, what did this hit? There's all these options for things it can hit. In this case, we're looking for an actor to be hit by this invisible line. And the actor that we want to see if we're hitting is our weapon pickup base. And then if our weapon pickup base is hit, and let me just go back to that so you can see, if our weapon pickup base is hit, we want to run this interacted with weapon. Interacted with weapon, and then if you remember, interacted with weapon runs weapon pickup, which runs spawn weapon, which then equips a weapon. And there you go. You are now a coding genius. Congratulations. Now, if we were to hop in and play and walk up to any weapon and interact with it, You'll notice that we get that sound effect, it disappears and all of that, but we don't actually get to see it in our hands. Although it is in our hands, the weapon sockets are a little bit screwed up, so it's actually pointing straight downward and we can't actually see it, but we do have it equipped at this time. So we can do a little bit of a debugging thing to make sure that this works, and we'll do that now. So anywhere in our event graph, this is gonna be temporary. Just hit 7 out of pressed. Let's do a print string. And then let's get the current weapon, drag that out and plug that into that. So now whenever we hit 7, it's gonna output to the screen through text what our current weapon is. So now if we hop in and play, and I were to interact with the assault rifle and I hit 7, we have the auto rifle weapon as the current weapon. Now the pistol, and the shotgun, the sniper, and if I hit 7, it should be the sniper. Hit that, it should be grenade. There, it's the rocket. Now let's try switching between weapons. So if I hit 1, that was the pistol, I think, or was the assault rifle that we picked up. So I hit 1, and now hit 7. It's the auto rifle. The second weapon we picked up was the pistol. So I've hit 2, and now 7. It says the pistol. So it is switching between the weapons. It is doing everything that we want to do. It is working perfectly. Now all we have to do is just give us a way to see it actually happen on screen. That's what we're going to do in the next video, and I hope to see you there.